Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Proton Pack Podcast. Oh, looks like Tony forgot to turn down his audio.
It's on a delay.
It is on a delay, but
How?
tisk tisk.
Oh, I've screwed that one up.
Oh,
I'm not getting any
gotta turn it off.
video on our Facebook feed.
Oh, that's on a delay.
Okay.
Don't worry about that.
There we go.
See?
That works.
You got it. You got to turn the volume all the way down, Tone.
Oh, sorry. We're having technical. Maybe we're too late. It's already live.
It is live.
But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do...
within the first second of the show.
Oh, that's on a delay.
Okay, now I'm confused.
Uh-oh.
I'm lost.
I'm not hearing anything now, but...
sorry. Bear with me. Oh, sorry. I'm lost. The delay and everything's throwing me off.
Yeah, there's going to be a delay, but it's the volume that is the important thing to make sure you get rid of.
I'm just not going to watch the feed on my computer screen because that's throwing me way off.
That makes sense. In any case, this is the Proton Pack with Kris and Tony. As you can already tell, I'm Kris.
Apparently, I can't have the Facebook feed running while our actual feed's here because there's just so much going on. It's just confused the hell out of me. So we'll get on.
Tony,
we'll get on track. I'll just turn on the Facebook feed on my phone.
You can't have nice things, Tony.
Nope. I was not ready for all that confusion there.
Well, if you want to throw a little more confusion into the mix, so those of you who are joining us on the live feed on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, if you go back and listen to the podcast, are we getting some residual audio there, Tone?
I don't know what to tell you. Live recording.
Yep. In any case, so if you go back and listen to the podcast itself will actually have the whole first half of the show that was recorded live at this past weekend's Reno Pop Culture Con. And we spent Friday, Saturday, Sunday there. It was a lot of fun. And we got some recording in, but weren't able to get the entire show in.
No, it was really hard to record a live podcast. It was a lot of fun, but... very difficult. So
well, we'd get started and people would then come up and start talking to us, which we enjoy, but at the same time it's tough to put together a scheduled show and
it also didn't help that the big
interact.
Guy, we have 10 minutes before the Mario Kart. Yeah.
So what you're getting with this is you're actually getting half of a normal episode. We're going to end up kicking off where we left off with the live show. So if you want to hear it in its entirety, go back, download the podcast on Apple, Google, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts. And in this show, once we finish up all of our stories, we are going to draw the live winner of the Cinemark Movie Club Pass and Infinity Gauntlet.
You know what's funny is those poor people that signed up, they're probably like, those guys never did it. They never did. Well, we're actually doing it. There is the gauntlet.
We are.
And we will be drawing, well, Mr. Christian, who's in Reno right now, will be drawing it. And I am here in Denver, Colorado. I can't physically draw it, but I will be here live for it.
Yep, a couple days late. And then the other thing is when we finish up, and if you're listening to the podcast, stay tuned to the very end. We have a interview that we conducted at the Reno Pop Culture Con with a superhero named Serge, and he is an independent filmmaker created a series of movies called Surge of Power, and you can find out more about that by listening to the very end. That won't be here on the live video. You can only get that on the podcast itself.
Yeah, very nice, guys. So shout out to Surge for taking the time to stop by our booth and giving us an interview. Also just a huge shout out to everyone that stopped by and we got to meet, man. And I'm sure we're going to do the recap part after the news, would imagine.
Yeah.
So I'll save those, I guess, for then. So.
Exactly. So, in any case, if you're listening to the podcast, let's go ahead and continue with our stories. The next movie story relates to Matt Reeves' The Batman, and it was just confirmed today, though, when we pulled the story up, that Andy Serkis...
Uh-oh. Don't worry, it's good now.
Gotta turn the volume down. Andy Serkis, who you know as Gollum from the Lord of the Rings movies, and then of course he worked with Matt Reeves as Caesar in the Planet of the Apes movies, will be playing Alfred Pennyworth, which I think is a good fit.
Hello, Bruce Wayne. You are the Batmans.
My guess is he probably won't be doing the Gollum voice.
No, he probably won't.
That'd be hilarious, though.
It would be. Hopefully for outtakes and everything, but yeah.
So, there's more and more casting that's coming out about that. Speaking of which, while that one's confirmed, there is a rumor that the third major villain of the movie, the Penguin, is going to be played by Colin Farrell. And I'm curious to see what his version of it would be if he, puts on some weight, what he does to, fit that Penguin role. Because, obviously Danny DeVito was previously the Penguin in Batman Returns. Definitely fitting for him and his body type. Colin Farrell tends to be a taller, skinnier person.
Yeah, typically he does. But, I mean, he did transform back in Daredevil when he was Bullseye. So, I mean, obviously that's a little different. Bullseye was pretty skinny, so it'll be interesting.
Right.
It'd be interesting if they do kind of a take like they did on Gotham with Penguin, where he wasn't fat, but he was lanky and tall. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of take they do. I'm definitely not expecting a Danny DeVito Penguin. So.
No, not at all. And then the other two major villains are Paul Dano, who's been cast as the Riddler, and Zoe Kravitz, who will play Catwoman. In addition to them, you get Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon. So casting's coming together. I am really looking forward to this version of Batman, which they said early on is going to be more of a detective, Detective Comics type Batman.
Yeah, it's going to be good, and it's not going to tie into the whole DC universe. Like, they're getting away from that whole let's connect it right now, which is good. Build your universe up, develop these characters, and maybe if you want to eventually get there, if everything's successful, then that would be awesome. I think the casting is really good, so that'll be nice. Now that I've got our audio issues fixed on the Denver side of things, a shout out to my Aunt Sonia if she's watching. Hello. My buddy Robbie. Hello. And Lacey. Hello. Thanks for checking it out. And on with the show.
All right. Moving from the Batman universe to the Spider-Verse. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse obviously was a huge hit when it came out. First movie featuring Miles Morales as Spider-Man. Even won Oscar for Best Animated Picture. Well, it's no surprise that a sequel is coming, and it has been announced that is hitting theaters April 8th, 2022. So you got some time to wait for it, but it'll definitely be worth waiting for.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really good. The first one was awesome. Kind of hope they try to tie in, like, the rumored, get Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland, like, animated form. So for those that don't know, that's obviously Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. And then when they did the Amazing Spider-Man series, that's where Andrew Garfield came in, and then we're currently on Tom Holland. So that would be awesome if they tied that together.
That would be great. And then the first movie was, I want to say written by, but maybe it was just produced by Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who you'll know from the Lego Movie. They did 21 and 22 Jump Street. Looks like in this case they are sticking into a producing role and handing over the writing and directing to some other folks. Looks like Joaquim Dos Santos, who previously did Voltron Legendary Defenders on Netflix, will be directing the sequel.
I had no idea who that was.
So, 2022, little time to wait. But in the meantime, we're getting a new Venom movie. And so there'll be more spider-related movies before then.
We got to keep them going. But that's awesome, though. So I'm looking forward to that. And we'll obviously have more as time goes with that.
Yep. And it is the cream of the crop. Speaking of sequels, we have gotten information that Peyton Reed will be back to direct Ant-Man 3 for Marvel Studios. That is good news. While it wasn't reported as part of Marvel's Phase 4, it will be back for Phase 5. Peyton Reed directed the previous two movies, Ant-Man and the Wasp. We saw in Avengers Endgame a grown-up, what was the daughter's name? Cassie. That should be easy enough for you to remember.
What the are you talking about, man? Don't bring up that name. I don't speak Spanish.
So, in Avengers Endgame, we saw Scott Lang's daughter, Cassie, all grown up now, more of a teenager. And there is talk that she may actually be joining them. In the comic books, she had code names Stature and Stinger, but may go with the other one is Giant Girl. So maybe the next one will be called Ant-Man, the Wasp, and Giant Girl.
It'll be good. If it keeps the same flow and you get Michael Pena back in it, it should be awesome. Also, shout out to Jimmy Jones, host of Pop Culture Kaboom. He's joined us. Hello, Jimmy. Y'all talking MCU right now? Yes.
So that's good news. Sticking in the Disney camp, Disney CEO Bob Iger said that anything that comes out through them that is R-rated, most notably Deadpool, will not be going to the Disney Plus service. However, it will be going to Hulu, which obviously with the Fox merger, Disney now owns most of. So any of the edgier Fox fare, as they call it, will be headed over to Hulu versus Disney Plus. So including Deadpool, you're looking at Family Guy, Logan, Die Hard, probably Alien series, Predator, anything along those lines. It makes sense it won't be on Disney Plus.
Oh man, so you won't hear on Disney, huh? I couldn't keep up with that. I didn't really try to mimic all that cussing. But yet they can show two Simpsons characters having sex on Disney Plus. Millhouse's parents hooked up on one of the episodes I watched yesterday.
Stay tuned next week. We're going to give our review of Disney Plus now that it's officially out. We're going to dive deep into it, let you know what we think. But that's next week. This is this week. So we are going to move on. Sticking in the realm of Deadpool, Joker star Zazie Beetz, who, as you know from Deadpool 2, played Domino, wants to be part of the MCU's X-Men. Now, here's where it gets a little weird. If Deadpool becomes part of the MCU, you would think that Domino would be part of that as well.
Right.
Well, Zazie, who apparently auditioned for the role of Storm in X-Men Apocalypse, obviously she didn't get it, said that she would love to take another shot at the role of Storm, which would make it very confusing if she's also Domino in the same universe.
Yeah, that would be a little weird. While you're at this point, just bring Chris Evans back as the Human Torch. Have him, you can't play Cap no more, so just be the Human Torch. Really confusing.
Oh, God, that would be really confusing. But either way, I think we'll see her in the MCU. Don't know what role that will be quite yet. But I think she needs to stay as Domino. I think she did great in Deadpool 2. We're obviously getting a Deadpool 3. She was the only one of the X Factor that actually survived besides Deadpool. That's where my money is, that she's going to stay as Domino.
And then she'll probably be back for Joker 2.
All right, sticking in the Disney camp, but moving on over to the Star Wars sagas.
The Wars of the Stars.
We have The Rise of Skywalker coming out next month on my birthday, December 20th. And
that's how I feel about it.
Sad because it's too far away, or? Oh, okay, all right.
Got the Mandalorian to hold me over. We're good.
Yeah, most definitely. So we know that Carrie Fisher will appear in this, even though she passed away during, I think it was post-production of The Last Jedi was when she passed away. But luckily, J.J. Abrams got plenty of footage of her from The Force Awakens, and they've confirmed, at least her brothers confirmed, that she'll have about 8 minutes of screen time in The Rise of Skywalker. Obviously, it's not the role they imagined for her initially when they kicked off this, third trilogy. Looking through, they wanted to make her a full-fledged Jedi, give her a lightsaber, and make her really badass. But, circumstances come about, and that wasn't the case. But they're going to give her a proper send-off, plenty of screen time, and obviously none of it's going to be that deep fake CGI stand-in.
Like that one, kind of in The Last Jedi when, the ship blew up and she was in space and she magically pulled a Yondu and, get the damn ship.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Shout out to Devin Watson and Misty Phillips for tuning in. Hey-o.
So, and Disney definitely has the de-aging stuff down with everything that they're doing at the MCU compared to what DC and Warner Brothers is doing with theirs. Oh, if you watched Aquaman, it was terrible.
Way bad.
Terrible. But J.J. Abrams wants to respect Carrie Fisher and use actual footage of her.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be awesome. I hope. I know Jimmy's got his optimisms. If you're still watching, I know you're not really super excited, but I know you're going to see it, and you'll probably give tickets to her on your show. But, I think it's going to be better than The Last Jedi. It's just got to be, right?
Well, J.J. Abrams is back at the helm.
Less Rose, too, please. Less Rose.
Yeah, I know she's in it, but hopefully just
a
little less of her.
Okay.
All right, and speaking of Star Wars, we know that they were working on a couple new sets of trilogies. One with Rian Johnson, who did do The Last Jedi, helming that series of movies. The other was David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, who were the showrunners for Game of Thrones. Were doing a series that, as far as we know, was basically based off of the Old Republic, which I know a lot of fans were looking forward to. But recently, Benioff and Weiss actually signed a huge deal with Netflix to produce a series of TV shows, movies, so on and so forth.
Compete with Disney Plus, because Disney Plus is gonna.
It's time to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of gum.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely going to take over, especially at the price point it's at. But in any case, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss have exited Lucasfilm. They've exited Disney. It's still not known if they were let go or if they quit themselves.
Like a relationship. You're like, nah, we didn't get dumped. We dumped them.
Right. But my guess is that they were probably dumped because of the Netflix deal. Because their time was being committed to Netflix as opposed to where it really needed to be committed to at Disney with these series of Star Wars movies.
It's a shame. We probably could have seen our Pop Culture Con neighbors, the wolf and the crows. They probably could have been extras in that Star Wars film.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Hey there, brother. Another dinosaur.
Those guys were cool.
Yes. Such is life.
But what's interesting is prior to Game of Thrones, they had no other real experience. They hadn't been showrunners for anything. HBO just sort of took a chance on them. Obviously won big with Game of Thrones, even though the last two seasons were heavily panned by fans.
Right. It's one of those, you get your, you can keep going with that momentum, and just at the end, if it's a letdown, I mean, it just ends up being super disappointing. We've talked about on the show, like shows like Dexter and Walking Dead, how they're so great, but the longer they go, it just unfortunately runs into a wall. And Lost had that same problem. How I Met Your Mother.
Yep.
Totally different realm, but still it had its issues. Hi, Brittany Beyer, for checking in.
Right on. So in a statement, Benioff and Weiss said, "We love Star Wars. When George Lucas built it, he built us too. Getting to talk about Star Wars with him and the current Star Wars team was the thrill of a lifetime, and we will always be indebted to the saga that changed everything. There are only so many hours in the day, and we felt we could not do justice to both Star Wars and our Netflix projects, so we are regretfully stepping away." My guess is that Disney gave them the chance to gracefully bow.
Oh, your ass isn't fired.
So that does it for movie news. And Tony, if you have the button pulled up, we don't have to superimpose it on this part of it.
We don't, not like how the other one. And we said, which one are we doing right now?
We're doing video games.
Oh, yeah, boy. Hey,
man, you want to play some video games? Hadouken!
Boy, it seemed to just sort of fade off there.
It does. Just goes. I want to say hi to Jackie Gaspardo. She's joined us. Hello.
Right on.
I hope your eye's okay today at work. There was this leaky brown crap that dropped from the ceiling and almost got her in the eyeball.
You ever see that movie 28 Days Later?
Well, no. I wouldn't be surprised with the crap that was falling out of the ceiling today. So
it's all it takes.
So if she does that,
zombie apocalypse.
It was bad stuff.
Right.
I tried to save you. Tried.
All right. So in video games, we've got one basically story. Luigi's Mansion 3 was released on Nintendo Switch, and Tony was lucky enough to pick it up, and he's going to give us his impression of Ghostbusters meets Mario.
Oh! What I was going to do?
Nope, that's Disney.
Now I'm laughing. I can't do the Mario voice. But so I mean, it was kind of fitting because at the con we had Charles Martinet, who does the voice of Mario and Luigi, was there, promoting obviously Nintendo and himself. And there is obviously the Luigi's Mansion 3 has dropped, and really fun game. If you guys were ever fans of the Luigi's Mansion game back on the GameCube, plays very similar. They took some elements of the Game Boy 3DS version of Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, which added his multiple character that can get into pipes and different areas to solve puzzles, called Gooigi, which is kind of a lame-ass name.
Very original.
Very original, but Nintendo tends to do that. They're like, let's make a guy named Wario. And he's the alter ego of Mario, and then
upside down.
Even better, let's make an alter character to Luigi and call him Waluigi. So, I don't know. Nintendo's not very original with that stuff, but nonetheless, The game is about a 12-hour campaign. It is filled with puzzles, action, humor on it, man. The voices that Charles does for Luigi are just great. Mario, yee. And it's basically, if you guys don't know what Luigi's Mansion is, it's basically Ghostbusters just with Luigi. So he's got his little vacuum cleaner, and you pick up different pieces. And what's cool is when you catch ghosts, it's like you got to turn the little joystick, catch them, and there's a lot of fun boss battles, puzzles. Definitely one of the best Switch games I've picked out. And if I didn't say it's on Nintendo Switch, you can't get that on any other system. Came out on Halloween, so that was pretty fitting. It was a Halloween release. But yeah, get it now. If you own a Nintendo Switch, I definitely think it's a must pick up. It's a lot of fun. I have not gotten bored with it, and the puzzles are fun to figure out. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. Definitely a thumbs up.
Now, is it a game that's easy to get through and beat, or is it going to take you a little while to
No, the difficulty
do
level's
everything?
moderate to hard. It's not insanely difficult. It's definitely, you got to figure out some things and kind of backtrack and figure out puzzles. It's not a simple game, but it's definitely an enjoyable game. So
Cool. And have you played any of the multiplayer, the 4-player online scare
no,
scraper
I haven't
mode?
done any of that yet. So look forward to trying that out. I imagine the one thing that kind of sucks with Nintendo is their online's not the best. You end up getting a lot of, like, you have to have the friend codes and things like that. Now on the Switch, the good thing is if you and I were friends on our Nintendo network, I can directly just send you a message to join up to play a game. Whereas, if you want to play with other people, you got to have like the app, and you can talk crap on the app and stuff. But definitely, I would imagine it plays good because Mario Kart does quite well with it. And I was pretty impressed with that.
All right. So IGN gave it 8.3. Tony gives it a 5 out of 5. Either way, it looks like a good game.
It's definitely worth a pickup. And then I didn't get a chance to get the game. Another game I'll shout out that just came out around the same time. Old school nostalgia video game fans. If you loved The Lion King and Aladdin back on the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, they released the Aladdin and Lion King compilation. That's available for download, or you can go to your local game store and get it. It's $30, I believe, but I'll hold out until there's a sale of the week. But from what I was reading, the big qualm with that is it was missing the Super Nintendo Aladdin. That's not on there because it was produced by Capcom, whereas everything else was produced by Virgin. So, but
I don't remember.
Holds up well apparently, and why they added Game Boy versions, I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, if I remember correctly, the Genesis version of Aladdin was way better than the Super Nintendo one.
Yeah,
anyway.
really, in the Super Nintendo one, you couldn't use your sword and you threw apples. It was a fun game, but the Genesis one was way better. You play a couple different versions of that game on there, so that's available for pickup. And also Ghostbusters Remastered. So if you didn't know, we're fans of Ghostbusters on the show. And no, we don't sell Proton Packs. Thanks for asking at the con. We appreciate it. But
right there.
They released a remastered version of Ghostbusters a couple weeks ago. I haven't been able to pick that up yet, but is essentially the third Ghostbusters film in video game form. It has the original cast. They did it obviously before Harold Ramis passed, so that's also worth the pickup. They say the graphics are good, and I can tell you, after playing the first
gameplay's a lot of fun.
It's a hell of a pickup. So recommend that. But that's me stretching the video game segment out just a little bit.
Well, that's okay because we finished the video game segment. We finished our movie stuff. Obviously, if you're listening to the podcast, you heard the first half of it, which we recorded live at the Reno Pop Culture Con. And now that we've been away from the con for a couple days. Tony obviously got back to Denver now. We're getting back into the swing of things. Looking back on it,
swing of things today, man. My mind's still on Comic-Con, Reno Pop Culture Con, and then possibly the Denver Pop
trademark
Culture Con. And yeah, it was hard to get back into like work mode. What pays the bills. So
yeah. But it was so much fun, we've been to a number of cons individually together, but this was the first one where we were on the other side of the table. You know, we had an exhibitor table, obviously, for the podcast itself. And it was sort of surreal. I mean, we were surrounded by not only some very wonderful and accommodating celebrities, for lack of a better term, because everybody there we were just in awe of. I mean, as Tony mentioned earlier, we had a couple guys, three guys from Game of Thrones, The Wolf and the Crows.
Extremely friendly guys. I mean, super nice. They were extras on Game of Thrones, and they were in them quite a bit. So to be next to them actually was really good for us, because a lot of Game of Thrones fans. So, you know, when they're at that booth and that booth is really busy, kind of gave us that extra foot traffic. So thanks, fellas, for that. I mean, that was extra boost, and we appreciate that.
Most definitely.
We're looking forward to,
and that,
one good thing that Christian and I got to do at this con was get the contacts and meet a lot of people. So hopefully we can get these guys on the show at some point. So,
yeah, and you know, we met a lot of the voice actors that voiced characters to cartoons we grew up with. Obviously, we were kids of the '80s, Disney Afternoon, and we were sort of in awe of the company we were with, and I think it'd be easy enough for folks who have been in the industry so long to be off-putting and rude, but that wasn't the case. I mean, they were gracious and just awesome.
Oh yeah, these guys were great. I just got to grab my little notes here as I say. So first off, you can see here. So we had our own little badges. So get that right up to the screen so you can see Reno Pop Culture Con. We were in. Shout out to our new buddy here at Saturday Morning Rewind, Tim.
Hey, Tim.
Excellent.
Jason
at from Disney Afternoon Radio, or DAF, right? DAF.
DAF Radio. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, you think about just some of the people here, and I got my little notes so I don't screw anything up. But, Tim, you can check. Yeah, these guys were great. They were other podcasts, and they were so humble to Christian and I, and they invited us to their podcast panel. But since we couldn't have anyone watch our gear, I'm sure you followed us on the Facebook page or our personal Facebook page because we shared it. We had our equipment out. So I stayed behind. Chris represented us, and, man, just huge. Like Chris being on the panel just drew that much more people, and I'm sure Tim and Jason just really appreciated that. So,
and they recorded it too. So once they put it together, they're going to put it on their YouTube. They're going to share it with us. So we'll put it on our YouTube channel, put it on Facebook as well. But it was so much fun, to be part of a panel. It was all about podcasting and really, what it takes to get into it. And even afterwards, Tony can attest that, Get Back and a number of people that were actually audience members in the panel came up to us and continued asking questions and were very curious about, some of the stuff that we brought up.
Yeah, I got to say, walking away from it, a lot of people close to us, I don't know what they really think, but, after doing the Reno Pop Culture Con, the people we met, being on the Pop Culture Kaboom radio show afterwards, getting to talk to Bruce McIntosh, the organizer of the Pop Culture Con, who, started the Denver Pop Culture Con, and learning the true purpose of the con. It's not just to promote your business or promote sales and stuff, ultimately the nonprofit behind it all. Like, I thought it was really special,
Yeah, it's to
go ahead on that. I mean,
yeah, it's basically to promote children's literacy through comic books and fiction novelization. And obviously before we did the radio show, we weren't exactly sure. We didn't know that was the case, but Bruce laid it out really nice during the radio show, and it was just awesome to be a part of that.
It is. And just the whole fact, some of my favorite parts of the con wasn't so much, it was meeting the people and the experience and meeting the fans and us even as weird as it is, we signed autographs and we took pictures with fans. Like that, I still haven't processed that because I by no means think I'm a celebrity, at all. I'm just a weird dude that makes funny noises and does a show with my
Not
best
yet,
friend.
anyway.
So, one of the biggest things I really loved was the kids. The fact that, if you have kids and you want to take them, whether you're in Denver, the Denver Pop Culture Con, or hopefully the next Reno Pop Culture Con, your kids are free. Or if you're an educator, you're a teacher, please go. It's free to you. The whole going, I like the appeal for the kids. I liked the surreal moment that they had Mario Kart going on over here, and your kids could play Mario Kart with Charles Martinet, the voice of Super Mario. Like, it was insane to sit there talking with Kris and our new buddy Tim, and you have Mario over here. Woohoo! It's me, Mario. It just.
And the kids were going nuts.
It was great. And we had Kenny James, the voice of Bowser, behind us. I don't really think Bowser has much of a voice more than just grunts and growls. But, we didn't get a chance to talk to Kenny. Charles was very nice. We had a chance to meet Charles. Hopefully we can get him on when he's not so busy. But, a couple other people that are just nice, like Tim, check out his, if you guys are fans of old Saturday morning cartoons from the 80s, please check out Tim at Saturday Morning Rewind. Excellent YouTube channel and some really cool stuff. He does some unpacking of toys, like we got to watch an episode where they unpacked Rescue Ranger figures, and him and his partner.
Right.
And also Jason with DAF Radio, where they talk about the Disney afternoon shows. And what was so cool is they got to host a couple of cool panels. I mean, you had Laurie O'Brien, who voiced Miss Piggy from Muppet Babies, and you had Katie Lee, who voiced Rolf, and Sunshine Bear from Gummy Bears. And then you also had Greg Berg, who voiced Fozzie Bear, as well as Donatello and Bebop. And I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I know I told you there, but to tell the audience that's watching, to have being big Ninja Turtle fans like Christian and I are, it's when you go up to this guy and he's talking like Donatello 1 second, and then he's like talking like Bebop. Is you the turtles good? Just little Tony was like whoa, like whoa. So, and while there was big name stars, another shout out too is there was a really nice lady across from us, Denise. She stepped up for her husband, Michael Shee. I'm cheating because I had to look his name. And they do the Planet Pootwaddle radio. So if you like old school internet radio, Planet Pootwaddle. Very, very nice people. Very just friendly.
Yep.
Check out the Wolf and the
and
Crows. They were right next to us.
Yep. Can't forget Brian Cummings,
Brian
who
Cummings was excellent.
Just the stories he had were so much fun. Tony can list off, half a dozen of the character voices that he's done over the years. And, he's a Denver native. I mean, basically right down the freeway from where Tone is. And, just a lot of fun,
He voiced, tons of characters in DuckTales. He was one of the Beagle Boys. In fact, on Disney Plus, I actually went and watched one episode of DuckTales just to hear his character voices. I didn't watch the whole episode, but just enough because he was in the beginning with Launchpad, because he played I don't know the fatter goose character. I forget that one's name, but I suck on that one. But yeah, he voiced. He had characters in Chippendale Rescue Rangers, Bernstein Bears. He was Papa Bear, and he was in Garfield and Friends, and Tom and Jerry, and all kinds of stuff. Really cool, Not somebody where if everyone was like, "Oh, cool, what celebs did you meet?" Generally you're not going to know, but it's like you one of your big ones that you were excited to meet was Tara Strong, and and I didn't know much about her other than she voices Bubbles and Powerpuff Girls and one of the My Little Ponies. Which one does she do? They're like, dude, don't
couldn't tell you.
Like
I'm not a brony.
You're not a brony. Come on, man.
No.
She was a sweetheart. So she voices Raven on Teen Titans Go, so that's a big one. And Harley Quinn in some of the shows.
Yep.
But when she came to our booth, we definitely geeked out. Very nice lady, very friendly. You know, who else was Jodie Benson of she voices Ariel, the Little Mermaid, was there.
Well, and can't forget Flash Gordon, Sam
Gordon.
Jones.
I feel bad.
Sam Gordon.
Which you're probably not, but at first I didn't know you. I was talking full conversation with him, but how cool was Flash Gordon?
He was very cool.
My
Keith
aunt,
Coogan.
my cousin Chloe, no offense, Sam, they hate your shit. They hate Flash Gordon. They told me that. No.
Well, they can't appreciate it, you know, and it was a big superhero movie back when superhero movies weren't a thing, you know. And then, of course, you know, Flash Gordon has an iconic soundtrack from Queen. And then Keith Coogan, who was awesome. You know, he was in he was in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, Adventures in Babysitting, and then voiced Fox in The Fox and the Hound.
Aw.
Oh.
No, then I got a Flash Gordon soundbite for you.
I like it.
We had Randy Havens, the science teacher, Mr. Clark from Stranger Things, was there. Got to see him, and Val Kilmer. I mean, we all totally partied and hung out with Val. Val was an absolute party animal, man. He was awesome. He was high-fiving. He was dancing.
He was visible to everybody.
He was shaking hands and kissing babies. Does anyone smell bullshit on that? Okay.
Yeah.
No, we didn't even see Val Kilmer. He was there, but
he was behind a curtain.
Poor Val.
Pretty antisocial.
Val.
Yeah, yeah. Alan Tudyk was there. That was an exciting one. Steve the Pirate.
Steve the Pirate.
Or, if you're a Star Wars fan, K2SO from Rogue One.
Yeah. And also Daniel Logan, who played young Boba Fett in Attack of the Clones, was there. He was nice. He walked by our booth and said hi. Still, one of my highlights was Charles Martinet and Mario was hiding in our booth as we were packing up.
Right.
Hello.
And then stole Princess Peach from Kenny James.
I wish I caught that video and shared it. I got him just running. We also got to meet Gigi Edgley from Farscape. Very nice lady. Linda Larkin, who voiced Jasmine from Aladdin. We didn't get to meet her, but I hear very nice. Shout out to our cosplayer friends, huh?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, you know, not only them, but everybody who showed up in cosplay. You know, who would have thought that Reno had a cosplay community that could really turn it out as well as they did.
Yeah, very, very nice people. We met a lot. I was going to say, Pinky the Pig. Thanks for stopping by the booth. We're giving you a shout out. I played your podcast for a couple of ladies in the office. They loved it.
Definitely. Yeah, you know, overall, a lot of fun. Obviously, we're planning on heading over to the Denver Pop Culture Con, which is July, 2nd through the 5th?
Right there, baby.
Nope,
July
3rd through the 5th. And they're calling it the Star Spangled Con because, obviously, bumping the microphone. Yep.
I'm hoping.
So it'll be over the 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, but you heard it here first. Christian and I, we're bringing the show to Denver. We'll keep you posted on that.
Yep. So that was our show, our wrap-up of the Reno Pop Culture Con. As always, subscribe, like, give us feedback. Most definitely. And then, as I mentioned... Oh, Tony's got something to say.
Maybe we'll do it next week. Should we give a shout-out to the Headlock on Hunger? That Macho Man thing just reminded me of it.
Let's do that next week.
Yeah.
But thanks, James.
Yeah, no, I just accidentally hit it.
As I mentioned at the top of the live broadcast here, stay tuned after we close this out, and you will hear our special interview with Surge from the Surge of Power series of movies.
Zapuda.
Zapuda. All right, Tone, go ahead and play us out.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. Woo!
Mommy, where's Fluffy?
Goodbye.